Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Zach Seiler, he's taken on an impossible bet.
I'll pick the girl, and you got 6 weeks to turn her into the prom queen.
Was this some kind of new dork outreach program?
It's like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, except for that whole hooker thing.
To everyone here who matters, you're vapor.
I forgot why I avoided places like this and people like you.
He's about to realize that she's a whole lot more than he bargained for.
Why'd you really come here, Zach?
I forget.
So kiss me.
She's all that.
Welcome to a movie film commentary track. My name is Zachy Hassan. I'm here with Brian Hall.
Hey, how's it going, Zachy?
You know, Brian, you ever want to make a wager about, other people's lives?
All the time.
Well, then, have I got the movie for you? And I don't mean in a most dangerous game, hunt them for sport way.
Oh, no?
Although...
See, that's what I was talking about. This is...
Well, then this just got a lot more awkward. No, we're here to talk about She's All That from 1999.
Oh, man. When you suggested this, because we're on its, 25th anniversary, I guess?
That's
it came
right.
out the last week of January in 1999. Immediately, I was like, oh, yeah, yep, let's do it. Like this. And it's funny because it's not that I'm, super fond of the movie. Like I remember it, and I just wanted to go back to that time, Zachy. I want to go back to that time with you and sort of revisit something that I think has weirdly lived on in our memories. Like the tropes of this movie have lived on more than the movie itself has necessarily lived on.
I think that's very fair. Yeah.
Right? Like I wanted to go back and just like watch it again as a film and just see what I even thought of it. And
I can't believe we're here. I just got to say.
Yeah.
I suggested this as kind of a lark. Brian said yes. I was like, okay. And Brian's like, fine. And I was like, we're doing this. And I feel it's like, remember that Friends episode where Chandler buys the tickets to Abu Dhabi?
Or Yemen.
Or Yemen. He's like, well, I guess I'm going to Yemen.
Yeah. Dude, that was actually one of my favorite episodes.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
And here we are. Like, because I guess, you know what, honestly, for me, I think this felt like the opportunity to step into a DeLorean with you.
I hear you, man.
And kick back to a simpler time, right?
What a trip. And what a trip, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so She's All That from 1999 is a movie that holds a very special place in the heart of, I'm going to say, a very narrow demographic. I will add, I'm not part of the demographic who has a special place in my heart for it. But just like as Brian said, definitely the milieu in which it came into being. I mean, that was our time, Brian.
I know it's one of those things again where I don't think people could remember the characters' names or more of the specifics or details of this film, but like teen films wouldn't be the same without it at the same time, right? Which is
very true.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. So, hey, we're going to watch She's All That from 1999. If you all want to load up your copy, which I know y'all have.
Your VHS.
You blow the dirt off your VHS and get it going. You can watch along with us. Otherwise, we'll talk through it. We'll do our thing. But let's let the sponsors do their thing first, and then we'll come back and we'll watch the movie. We're back and ready to go. I'm queued up. Brian, you queued up?
I'm all queued up.
Okay, well, in that case, here we go. We're about to watch She's All That. We will hit play on 3, the usual 1, 2, 3 play. And like I said before, if you don't feel inclined to watch along with us, I totally get it.
I love this because you just came off of watching this, right? So this is kind of a revealing take on how you felt about the movie, I think.
Well, no, I should say I enjoyed revisiting, but I'm not naive enough to presume that a ton of our listeners have this one on standby.
Actually, that's a good point. I don't even know where it's streaming. So,
I mean, I purchased it on Vudu like 2 weeks ago, right?
and I watched it on your Vudu.
There you go. So I'm trying to be cognizant of our audience's limitations.
Absolutely, and that's what I appreciate about you.
Yeah, that's what I do. I mean, I'm kind of a Zach Seiler in my perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, sensitive and complicated, and good with hacky sack.
That's right. You give good hacky sack.
All right, here we go. On three. 1, 2, 3, play. 1, 2, 3, play.
All right, Miramax joint.
Miramax made it kind of. This was like one tier of their domination over like mid-budget movies.
Yeah, well, and they're about to go on to win the Oscar for Best Picture for Shakespeare in Love this year, 1999.
Yeah, 1999. That's right. It Shakespeare in Love beat Saving Private Ryan, which is a travesty.
Infamously.
Yeah.
Yep.
Preposterous.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like a whole. We could do like an essay on that about why people think that happened, but yeah, no. I thought as we kick off here, we have a little montage of some abstract art being made by our lead character here because she's an artist. I thought let's immerse ourselves in 1999. I wanted to. I looked up what were some of the.
I'm sorry, Brian. I can't look at this hideous person on this. Oh my God. Oh
no. See, there's just no way that they're going to be able to turn her around in time for prom. But we'll get there.
I think it's cruel that they're making us look at Rachael Leigh Cook, who, by the way, is gorgeous.
Absolutely stunning. I think she was a model before this. Like that's speaking what I was saying earlier. I mean, that's one of the things people joke about most from this movie is like someone like, oh, no way, she could never, she's an ugly duckling. But then you just take off her glasses and change nothing else about her appearance. And all of a sudden it's like, she's been a swan the whole time. And I mean, yeah, like she is absolutely adorable here. The only thing is she's wearing glasses. Her hair is like slightly not combed, but
right.
And then we were saying off air, I'd never noticed, but watching this in HD, she has a bit of a unibrow, I guess. I don't know.
They gave her a unibrow.
I was going to say, which is barely perceptible. I only noticed it on a 70-inch TV with HD,
Kevin Pollak, who plays the dad, just randomly, I was watching YouTube last week, and his William Shatner impression came up.
yeah, he's good at that.
It's brilliant. Yeah,
Kevin Pollak. I mean, I actually thought there was going to be more of him in this movie than there was.
I was actually thinking that. I was like, did they just shoot him out in a day? Because it's mostly him like sitting on the couch or the kitchen table.
Yeah, and kind of not paying attention to his surroundings. Like he has no idea what's going on around him at all times. Wait, we have to talk about that him, Freddie Prinze Jr. walking into the school from behind. We're seeing the back of his head, and he looks at a picture of Freddie Prinze Jr. and turns around, revealing, "Hey, it's me," kind of a thing.
Yep.
Which,
by the way, that girl right there, the African American girl on the left, she's Jeff Goldblum's daughter in The Lost World.
Wow.
Vanessa Lee Chester. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So this is like 2 years after that, right?
2 years after that. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that's kind of a shot that I think gets used even in the trailers for the parody of this movie, Not Another Teen Movie. And I thought that was a joke. I thought that was like a Naked Gun style joke to have him looking at this picture and turn around and it's actually the guy and the picture of the guy. But no, that is lifted directly from this movie.
Directly from this.
Yeah.
So what's remarkable watching this is how just about everybody in this movie went on to have a pretty decent career, right?
I didn't remember Dule Hill was one of his friends.
This is like his first thing that Dule Hill did.
Yeah.
And before the year was out, he was on The West Wing.
Oh, wow. This year? 99?
So,
wow.
99. Okay. So January of 99, he's in this, and then he ends up starring in one of the most prestigious dramas of all time.
Wow, that's amazing.
Not a bad year. And he's still, he was the dad on the Wonder Years reboot, etc.
Uh-huh.
And he started as the token black friend in She's All That.
Yeah, which gets parodied, I believe, in Not Another Teen Movie. But
That's right.
But yeah, and then of course Psych. I have to check.
He's so good on Psych. He's so good. He's he's Gus.
Yep.
Burton Guster.
And of course Paul Walker.
Yeah. First
Right?
time I saw Paul Walker was in this movie, I'm pretty sure.
I'm fairly certain, me too.
Yeah.
But man, his Southern California accent is like dialed up to 11 in this movie. Like, no way, bro. Like, want to make a bet? Like it's almost comical. I don't know if he's playing it up or I don't know. It's funny. It's like not since the 80s, like Valley Girl or something like that. Have I heard to that degree?
Right. Well, what I will say, I mean, again, I'm if at all in the last 25 years, I've seen this maybe one other time. But I was like, man, Freddie Prinze is like really good in this.
Yeah. Well, and you alluded to it earlier, but he kind of plays like a nice guy in this movie.
Yeah.
It's not like a trio of jerks, like a jock jerk, like, okay, well, then I'm just going to find, a girl and like, for his own sort of game. Like he's kind of a sensitive guy, he's pays attention to the people around him. Right. It's kind of a unique take, which I think I read was tailored to Freddie Prinze once he joined.
That's
Freddie Prinze
right.
Jr., I should say.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he's got these expressive eyes that you can just kind of fall into as you gaze at wait, what was I saying? I think he's just got like a sensitive guy face.
He does. Yes.
Right. And so I think it's hard to imagine him as a jerk. So they did have to sort of give him a little bit texture. Now, Brian, this is high school. Was high school like this? I mean, I know this is spring break that they're showing, but
like the MTV Beach House, basically. Like,
yeah, like,
not for me. No.
I mean, you had just graduated a year earlier.
Yeah.
Less than a year earlier.
Yeah.
You're 98, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was 97. So my point, not that long. And I watched this and I'm like, I don't remember. I don't remember high school.
I mean, this
like
is
that.
what like me and my buddies were eating Doritos on the floor, watching the MTV Beach House, on TV, like
that was a funny line there, by the way. She's like, Brock is from the real world. And he's like, what, you mean Reseda? I thought that was
yeah, right. It's funny. Reseda always makes me think of the Karate Kid. You from Reseda? I'm from Reseda.
Oh, I'm from Reseda. There is a lot of screwing for these being high school people.
Yeah, as that tends to be the way, right? With these like 90210 sort of shows and stuff. They always I think the thing is they set it in high school for whatever reason, but they really want to be making a show about like college, because they hire like college age looking kids and they want them to have kind of college age problems. But for some reason or another, they always set these things in high school.
Yeah, because pretty much everybody in this was in their early 20s.
Yeah.
Right? Because Freddie Prinze, what is he, 76? So he would have been...
Oh, I was like 76.
No, he was born in 76. Yeah. So he would have been like 23 when this came out, 22.
Okay. Yeah. I think, Rachael Leigh Cook, she's like a year older than me. So she was probably
than you.
20 or something.
Yeah, exactly. She's like a week younger than me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So going back to the, it was a different time sort of ness of it all. You have this sequence here, right? Where you see like how people think of Lainey Boggs in school. And basically they're telling her to commit suicide.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, and the sad part is I don't know how different that is from now. It's just, now there's an online element.
Yeah. Well, what I mean is just, I don't think in media, in like a lighthearted teen comedy, I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Go there at this point, and then if you did have this line, there'd probably be a like a card at the end of the show that has like a suicide prevention hotline number.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I just think people are a little more sensitive or conscious about those sorts of realities in entertainment.
That is a great point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. But yeah, just real quick, I just want to throw this stuff out just because I looked it all up. But 1999, here we are. Let's go back to 1999. This is when we're worried about Y2K, right? Like Y2K fears are settling in. Napster is a thing that we're still doing.
It was a thing.
The Euro was first introduced. Family Guy premieres. That's wild. Family Guy's still going.
Family Guy. Yeah, probably like a month after this or something because it started after the Super Bowl.
Yep. And then the movies of the year, of course, probably the biggest movie that year
Phantom
was
Menace.
Phantom Menace. And then, of course, you've got Fight Club, American Beauty, Sixth Sense, The Matrix, Office Space, Blair Witch Project. So that's what was playing alongside this movie in theaters.
The Mummy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Three Kings,
That one,
of course.
That one, by the way, The Mummy. We got to come back and talk through that.
I'd love to. I've seen it maybe twice, and I don't really remember it super, super well.
Yeah, it's been a while for me, but I'd love to revisit it.
Yeah.
Now, Matthew Lillard, real quick. This is one of many movies he did with Freddie Prinze. They were kind of joined at the hip for a minute there.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I mean, Scooby-Doo. What else?
Wing Commander.
There
You go. Yeah. There's a blast from the past. And better known as the movie that people watched to see the Star Wars trailer in front of and then left.
Wow. Yeah.
And they were in that baseball movie, you know what I'm talking about? Summer Catch?
Summer Catch, I think, right?
Summer
Jessica
Catch,
Biel.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And this is post sort of the Kevin Williamson thing, right? Like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer and all that.
Yeah, so Freddie Prinze really blew up with I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Matthew Lillard, of course, from the first Scream. So it definitely now first of all, let's look at how they are talking about the women that Zach must potentially go out with.
Yes,
it's extremely offensive. On a whole host of levels.
Yeah, well, I was feeling I didn't quite know what they were going to say about that girl passing, but immediately I was like, "What is this poor actress?"
I was thinking the exact thing, right? You have to be the not good enough one to
Exactly, yeah. Shoot, I lost my train of thought. But anyway.
It is very funny because it often feels like Freddie Prinze is in like a different movie. Because he's so right, like he's so like he's playing it straight down the middle. I think it works for what he's doing, but it's very funny because there's like this kind of satirical tone to the rest of it.
Yes, I mean you have people, like beatboxers improvising a rap about the plot of the film halfway through. I mean, you have like an unhinged dance number out of nowhere at the end of the movie. Like. There's a lot. Yeah, it's like you say, it's a little big, it's a little broad, but he seems to be playing it a little bit more grounded.
Yeah.
Now
that's just mean. The girl is like straightening her jumper there or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Here, okay. Oh my God, look at. Oh, it's disgusting. Look at this. What's she doing among regular people, Brian?
Zachy, she has paint all over her pants.
Ugh, just disgusting. I don't know. There ought to be a law, Brian. That's all I'm saying. Us normies, we shouldn't have to put up with these uggos.
I know. It's just the way they're talking.
He's like fat, I can handle, weird boobs, fungus, all of that I'm fine with, but not, Rachael Leigh Cook.
But do you think that was because then are they trying to make a defense of how he could possibly think that Rachael Leigh Cook couldn't become like prom queen? Like saying like, look, it doesn't matter the way she looks. It's her insides are dark. It's basically what he's saying here. Like I can't change the inside a little bit. Like right?
I get what you're saying. I think you're giving the film too much credit.
I'm not saying they pulled it off, but I wondered if that was intentional.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, first of all, I mean, it's worth saying, look, this is a redo or a reinterpretation of My Fair Lady. So it's, it's doing, what a lot of the, what was that? Was it 10 Things I Hate About You with Heath Ledger?
Oh yeah. Actually, I had a list of it. And My Fair Lady is a take on it's an old stage play, Pygmalion.
Exactly. The same way 10 Things is Taming of the Shrew. And I mean, they were doing a lot of this around this time.
Clueless was Emma.
Exactly. Right.
Easy A, Scarlet Letter, She's the Man, 12th Night.
Easy A was like at the tail end of this trend. That's like 2004.
Yeah. But that was, I mean, teen movies were huge in the 90s, right? I mean, you had like Clueless, Can't Hardly Wait, Cruel Intentions, Empire Records, Varsity Blues, Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, American Pie. Like, they were super hot in the 90s. But then, there was someone, keyed into this thing like, well, let's take classic literature and reinterpret it through high school kids. And then you had a whole run of those films, right?
Exactly. Like Othello was O. You remember that?
That's right.
Yeah. Here's Academy Award winner Anna Paquin.
Yeah, I had forgotten she was in this.
Yeah, it's almost like of all of them, she's the one who didn't need to be there. You know what I mean?
She's what, a year away from X-Men?
Yes, that's right. Because that was 2000.
Yeah, she's kind of interesting. I couldn't quite put my finger on what her character was like in this movie. She's a little like wise beyond her years, kind of.
Yeah, I was about to say she's the wise beyond her years freshman.
Yeah.
There's Tim Matheson
here. Yeah. I know best from Heart of Dixie because Federica had me watch that, and to my surprise, I fell in love with it. But man, he's been around forever. He goes all the way back to Leave It to Beaver.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and then Animal House, West Wing.
Which one of these days you're gonna watch it?
I will. I know. I have a gem waiting for me. I love this too. It's just like you get like a peek at the private life of the kid that everybody worships at school, and things aren't so good with his dad, man. And then it's just like he comes home and he goes in his room and he's got all these hidden acceptance letters from Harvard, Princeton, Yale, like MIT.
It's a hard life, Brian, for us overachievers like me and Zach Seiler. It's hard, man. I'll tell you.
It's just kind of comical,
like looking in a mirror,
shorthand. Like there's a little more to this guy than you thought, audience.
I was surprised Gabrielle Union was in this.
Yeah, that's right.
I had forgotten about it. Jodie Lynn O'Keefe. She went on to be in The Practice, or maybe she was on The Practice at the same time as this movie came out.
Oh wow, really?
I think that's right. Hold on, let me.
I normally don't bring this up because you don't want to punish a movie for something that's beyond their control. But the ADR in this scene I thought was so distractingly bad. They're walking down. Ridiculous. It looks like Melrose or something, and like it must have been noisy. Actually, I can see people looking at the camera a little bit. Like, so they had to basically loop this whole scene, and you can just tell a little bit of emotionality is kind of being withheld because it's not the same. It's not the performance she gave on the sidewalk. It's what she's doing in a looping studio months later, trying to match her lips on top of everything else. And I was like, oh, it's too bad we didn't get like the original performance she was giving because her face is so expressive in that scene. But
that's
the voice,
such a great point,
right? The voice isn't quite matching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't key in on that when I was watching it, but I was sensing something,
Mm.
And just by way of correction, I mixed up Boston Legal and The Practice. So she was on Boston Legal, but that was later. But at the time this movie came out, Jodie Lynn O'Keefe played Don Johnson's daughter on Nash Bridges.
Huh. Wow. Forgot about that show.
There's another time capsule.
Yeah.
Nash Bridges, aka the show that lasted longer than Miami Vice, but nobody remembers.
Wow. Huh.
Isn't that weird how that works?
Yeah, but Miami Vice, I even if people don't know what it is, you could still use it as a shorthand for sort of like 80s,
Yeah,
white sport coats with their sleeves pushed up.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about at all the fact that M. Night Shyamalan did an uncredited rewrite on this.
Yeah, which I guess there was a little contention, right, with the writer being like, no, like Arlie Fleming Jr., who is the sole credited writer, wanted to make sure that credit wasn't taken away from him, and it turns out he wrote the original script, right? But I guess what happened then is M. Night Shyamalan came in and did some uncredited rewrites that got the film sold, basically. But then they brought Fleming Jr. back in to put one last little polish on to make sure the voice was kind of his own.
Right.
I mean, that's my understanding of it, right?
But like the hacky sack scene, that was a Shyamalan thing.
Yeah, and I think he did a little bit to buff up Kevin Pollak, which is funny because, again, I feel like he's not like a huge presence in this movie.
Yeah.
And the Am I an Effing Bet? That's Shyamalan.
Yes, that was Shyamalan, yeah.
But it's funny, the hacky sack scene, before I even did the research on this, knowing that Shyamalan did rewrites, I was like, oh, I know. I will get $1,000 he did that scene.
Now, why is that? I'm curious.
It's so Shyamalan. It's so kind of brilliant, but like really cringy.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what he does. And it's very hard on its sleeve, a little obvious, but actually kind of like did a good job of helping me understand the character, but in a really in your face, kind of cringy, I want to curl up a little bit and not look at it way.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, little does he know, right? When this movie comes out in January of 1999, his iconic movie, is about to hit months later, like Sixth Sense.
I mean, and that was a big year for him because also Stuart Little was that same year.
Oh, yeah, he did a polish on that too, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's credited for that one. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, shortly after this, he's going to be called the next Spielberg. Isn't that fun? Like he has no idea.
So
at this
weird.
point. Yeah.
So that actor in the center there, that's Alexis Arquette, who is transgender.
Whoa, really?
The sister of the Hollywood Arquettes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't clock that.
Yeah.
Doesn't this feel sort of like a relic of the late 90s too? This sort of like coffee shop art, performance art kind of as comedy thing.
Yeah, certainly. Hollywood conditioned me to expect a lot more of this in my life as an adult.
I do remember coming to California and going to like one or two of these things where it's like spoken word poetry kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But not like this. Not like, it reminds me of So I Married an Axe Murderer also. Do you remember that? There's like that beat.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Thing. Yeah.
Yes. I went to, I was in a class. It was a Marco Benassi class at COD, and it was like a readers theater type thing. So for one class, we went to a kind of a bar, and they had like open mic thing, and people got up and did their stuff. And it was I would say mostly terrible.
Sure.
And we all in the class, each of us was expected to get up and do something.
Or you like this?
And I mean, not to this extent.
Yeah, but you had to go up. Yeah. What did you do?
Honestly, Brian, my recollection is just being like, "What the hell are y'all doing? What's the matter with you?"
Everyone's just like, he's berating us, and I love it.
I distinctly remember hearing, "Get off the stage."
Are you serious?
That's true.
How have I never heard this story? It's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. I was sort of baffled by some of what was happening, but anyways. I mean, in hindsight, I respect. Look, it takes courage to get up there and do something, but a lot of this stuff, I would have said, if I was a friend, I would have been like, maybe give it another pass. Like,
right.
Yeah. It wasn't perceived very well. I did not do any hacky sack a la Freddie Prinze Jr.'s very obvious body double. However,
Dude, it's so funny. You have to imagine they're like, yeah, kids are watching this on VHS on their like 29-inch TV screens. You know, I'm sure he didn't notice, but yeah, watching it on my big television in HD, it's kind of hilarious.
You're like, Freddie, not Freddie. Freddie,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Freddie.
As I say, to be fair, I mean Terminator 2, right? I mean, you have that full-on front shot of Schwarzenegger on the motorcycle jumping into the rain runoff thing, and it's like absolutely not him. You know?
Yeah, it's like Kevin James all of a sudden on the motorcycle. it's very apparent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't let it drop. This is like a metaphor for his life, man.
See, I know. It's kind of brilliant, kind of cringy. 100% Shyamalan.
Zach, he's complicated. He's complicated.
By the way, I say that as a fan. I've never strayed from Shyamalan. So,
dude, you are so on board. You are like Slim Pickens at the end of Dr. Strangelove, riding that missile, waving your cowboy hat. That's you and M. Night Shyamalan.
I know. Can't let it drop. Come on, Dad. Out of my face. Never let it drop.
It's like Bender in Breakfast Club when all of a sudden he starts screaming at his dad.
That's right. But did you ever do hacky sack? Do you remember that? I mean, that was like a thing.
I remember it. I definitely didn't. I don't have the coordination for hacky sack. Not then, not now, probably not ever.
Yeah, no, same. I mean, maybe like on my own, I could do it for a little bit, but I remember this, like showing up early in the morning at school before you went in, and there would be like a circle of people kicking around a hacky sack, right? Well, and the game was if you caught it, right, or something, you could like throw it at someone. Remember that? It's like somehow the game involved throwing it at people and everyone running away. Do you remember this?
I do remember that. No, I remember it.
Yeah. It sounds like I'm making it up, but anyway, it was a thing.
It's so funny because what you said earlier about how like these stories are set in high school, but they're clearly not really about high school. It's so apt because you could not convince me that these people that we're looking at right now are high schoolers.
No. Yeah, he looks like 25 here or something. You know?
Exactly.
And they're like walking like through downtown Los Angeles, you know, just like, I don't know, their parents aren't picking them up.
Yeah.
I love this too. He's keyed in on it. So those glasses.
Yeah.
It's like the seed, you know, it's like maybe there's something to taking those glasses off.
Yeah, the filmmakers actually said that, look, we know obviously Rachael Leigh Cook is gorgeous, and they were trying to do kind of a Superman Clark Kent thing.
Sure.
And I can respect that because that's just as much a buy. But the difference is that with Superman, like his glasses are hiding that it's not about him being handsome. It's about him being somebody who is godlike.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? You look at Christopher Reeve in Superman when he's in his Clark Kent role. You're not like, oh, look at that freaking ugly ass bitch, you know?
Speak for yourself. Took me a while to be convinced.
It's the scene when he takes the glasses off and he stands up straighter. You're like, oh, now I get it. Now I get it. I'm telling you, man, there is a lot of screwing in this movie. It's like, yeah, it's a lot.
It's kind of funny too, like the whole, like the real world being a plot. You know, I mean, it's just so of its time. It's like a funny idea, right? Where she met this guy from the real world, and that's the type of person that would lure a high school person away from their boyfriend, like the
Right.
goofiest like new or goober from like the show.
Yeah, he's like there were always like the characters on Real World who were just like terrible,
Right.
and their job was to just be the disruptive presence in the house.
Yeah. But Matthew Lillard, he's pretty perfect at it, playing this guy.
It's I was thinking about his career and how he's found his groove. Like he is the Shaggy of record.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
With all the animated shows and stuff, he does the voice of Shaggy for the most part. And I'm like, like good for him. Like I like Matthew Lillard, right? I mean, how can you not? We loved him in Scream. And I'm like, it's cool that really almost everyone in this movie has gone on to have a pretty okay career.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Freddie Prinze Jr. is doing a lot of voice work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing about Freddie, and here's a future Emmy winner, Kieran Culkin, right? Didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about him earlier today with this movie, and it's like he really, I mean, he played Fuller, right? Who's going to wet the bed in Home Alone, and Macaulay Culkin. It must have been weird. Like his older brother is like this international mega star, but he's the one that really rose ever since that moment. I mean, I don't know what the decision making was on Macaulay's part, but it could have been something he chose not to continue making movies. But it was also, he was so iconic in that movie. It was almost hard for him to disappear into anything else.
Yeah.
Right? Like he almost overshadowed anyone else he was around. I even remember when My Girl came out, it was sort of like, oh, cool. Like a new Macaulay Culkin joint, like it wasn't, I didn't see The Boy Next Door that the girl had a crush on. I just saw Macaulay Culkin, even though I do like that movie. And so I wonder then that was like a little opportunity for the other Culkin, for Kieran to then become like the son and father of the bride. And then, he's in Scott Pilgrim and he gets to, right? Like he's not as, like
in the,
like you see Macaulay Culkin, you're like, well, that's Macaulay Culkin.
Well, and the fact that, here we are 30 plus years removed from Home Alone, and Macaulay Culkin seems like a pretty well-adjusted adult.
Yeah.
By my sense, right? It's almost despite everything he was exposed to at a very young age, right?
Yeah, and I think he did have a period, right? And
no doubt. That's kind of my point. I mean, he had to navigate some pretty low lows before he got to where he is now, and I'm grateful for that. And I think to the point that you're making, I think absolutely Kieran, either consciously or unconsciously, was like, well, I want to avoid that.
Sure. Yeah. This is a thing growing up in the Midwest. I was just going to say, you watch all these movies and the kids in high school are always getting together at the beach. I think like the Karate Kid or whatever, Clueless, these sorts of things. And it's just something, I don't know about you. I mean, I never went down to Chicago and went to the beach.
Right. Yeah.
Still I was older. But just like, this was such like to me, like a TV/movie thing to see like high school kids getting together at the beach.
Yeah. And what beach is this? Do you know? It's got to be somewhere around you, right?
Don't. I think I looked it up. I want to say it's like Malibu or something.
You're usually the Zen master when it comes to this stuff. You're able to pinpoint like exact locations.
There was a few, earlier I was clocking some of the streets or thinking I knew what they were, but the beach, I'm not entirely sure. It does look kind of like Malibu. It's not like Santa Monica or something where it's like a ton of people.
I was thinking Malibu. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know Lainey. Janie is the character from Not Another Teen Movie. We know Lainey is hideous because she's wearing a one-piece bathing suit instead of a two-piece bathing suit.
And it's black. It's very boring.
Ugh. Just Brian.
Actually, look at the other girls. They're wearing these like really bright colored bikinis. Look, it's like almost the exact same thing, just different colors. But she's this like black one piece. Is this the scene where Paul Walker says something about her bobos?
I may have missed that, actually.
I think he says something that's like, well, hey, I don't know. Look at her. At least she's got bobos or something like that. Like, I was like, damn, dude.
What's funny is this movie came out about 6 months or so after Can't Hardly Wait, which is another, like, to me, I sort of put those together in kind of the same bucket types of movies, you know.
Yeah.
Another, like, just packed with all these like actors who would go on to have pretty decent careers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, huh? That's one I'd kind of like to revisit.
Yeah, I think that one probably last time I saw it was right around when it came out.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times. One of my friends, it's like her. I don't know, not like a childhood movie, but it's like she's very, very endeared to it. It's like to this day she loves it. Like if it's playing it, like New Beverly or something, like she's gonna go out and go catch it. It's like that's her teen movie.
At the time that movie came out, I had a massive crush on Jenna Elfman.
I remember this. How about you? I remember that was kind of a thing. Yeah.
And so I saw that she was in the trailer. I was like, well, I got to go see it because Jenna Elfman's in it.
Yeah.
And she's in it. She's in it for like a minute.
Yeah. She plays like, this feels like another thing of its time too, where it's sort of like the stripper with a heart of gold who dispenses
with the
wisdom.
heart of gold. Yeah. With the wise advice. Exactly.
Yeah. She gives the sage advice. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. I remember she wrote you a letter.
Not a letter. She sent me an autographed picture. I drew like a caricature of her and I sent it to her with a note, this was right around when Dharma and Greg had just started, because it would have been right around this time, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, she sent back, that was my first time ever getting like a autographed picture back from a celebrity.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Kind of. I still have it sitting in a file somewhere.
Yeah. You racked up quite a collection. Autograph collection.
Yeah, not too shabby. Yeah.
I got to say, actually commenting on the story at hand here that we're watching, I kind of admire that she didn't get dragged into the volleyball game, but she decided like, okay, yeah, then I will do this, like you don't sort of expect her to do it. And I don't even think the kids who are almost like taunting her expect her to play, but I like that she has the gumption to get up and try it.
Well, what I like is that not everybody is being a dick to her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's that one, not Gabrielle Union, the other person. She's kind of being rude, but everyone else is like kind of fine, Yeah,
and Dule Hill seems to be like the one friend kind of shaking his head the whole time, like, you guys. Like, yeah, he doesn't quite approve of this.
This actor, by the way, Eldon Henson, who plays her friend, I mean, he's too, right? He's he started out, he was in the Mighty Ducks movies.
Oh yeah,
but
wow.
You've seen the Mighty Ducks movies, right?
Yeah. I just haven't thought about him in a while.
Yeah, he's like the big guy who comes in later, but he's currently on Daredevil, Marvel's Daredevil. He was in the Netflix series, and I guess he's going to be in the Disney Plus one too. So I mean, that's my point, right? Like, not a bad career for a lot of these folks in this,
Absolutely. And then here you're going to get a little blink and you miss it cameo from Milo Ventimiglia.
Get out of here! Where?
He's the last one who comes in, right there.
And there he is. Oh man, I got to show my wife. I just watched this with her. She didn't even notice that. She is like creepily obsessed with him.
Well, then our wives should hang out because so's mine.
Because he was the dad on This Is Us, right?
Absolutely, yes. And Gilmore Girls, he's Jeff
and on Gilmore Girls he was. That's right. So she's constantly, whenever I do something, she'd be like, "Why can't you be like Jack?" And I'm like, "You mean dead?"
Right.
So that's usually how our conversations would go.
They should start a podcast.
They really should.
Fancast. I love this too. Like the Kevin Pollak character, like what? Like basically all these teenage boys are in there suddenly cleaning his house, and he's still like just paying attention to Jeopardy. I think later he has a line like, "Who are you people?" Like he's just so out of it.
But it really does feel like they just had him in a room for an afternoon.
Yes.
And they just got all his coverage,
Yeah.
Although what's interesting, real quick, is Kevin Pollak, he said he took on this role because he was a fan of Freddie Prinze and he wanted to work with him. Which at the time, I mean, he hadn't been in a ton of stuff, but I think the movie he referenced, The House of Yes, I think it's called.
Huh.
I think that's right. Yeah, House of Yes. So that's a Mark Waters movie.
It does make me wonder what got trimmed from all of this. I mean, it's interesting that the Kieran Culkin character has 2 hearing aids, right? And I was like, I couldn't remember if that was going to like come into play, and it doesn't, which is kind of cool in its way. You know what I mean? Where that's just like who he is. But I did see an interview somewhere where Culkin was saying that there was going to be something about that. And then it just kind of all got
at the very least, it feels like we're missing a plot thread about him getting picked on.
Yeah.
Right. That culminates in the scene later, but that feels like it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. And here it is. He's like noticing the kids. Who are you people? But yeah, no, like in the movie, well, I'll just say 10 Things I Hate About You, which I've seen more. The dad plays like a much bigger role.
Yes.
In it, and kind of has.
He's Larry. What's his name, right? What's the guy's name?
I can't think of his name. But
it's Larry something. Anyway.
So I was sort of expecting that from this as well, but he does give a little advice at the end, but he's not present much else.
That's right.
Well, here we
Larry
go.
Miller,
this is the moment.
That's the actress.
Wait, what is it?
Larry Miller. That's the dad's name, the actor. So are you hearing Sixpence None the Richer? In your head?
Oh, I can hear it. And it's funny because I don't know why, but my brain now does go to Not Another Teen Movie. I think of that actress and her falling down the stairs. And
yep, same. Here's the thing about Not Another Teen Movie. It tends to get sort of lumped in with just the absolute, fire hose of shit that came afterwards, all the like parody movies.
The Friedberg Seltzer films, Date Movie.
Yeah. And Epic Movie and, Meet the Spartans.
Meet the Spartans,
Not Another Teen Movie is hilarious.
Yeah, that's my memory. We watched part of it on an airplane, and it definitely does have a little bit of that early 2000s. You're like, ooh, like you'd give like a little bit of a warning before you recommend it to someone. But yes,
sure.
It definitely is. It's got some genuinely good jokes in it. Yeah.
Yes. And Chris Evans.
Yes.
Who my hand to God, I watched that movie. I watched it with Sean, and I was like, this guy he's going to be a star. He's going to be a big deal. And so it's kind of, I was right on that, Brian.
Yeah, you absolutely were. But on a fun trivia fact about our podcast, the first several years that we recorded, I was seated in a chair that was in the movie Meet the Spartans.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. There's like an American Idol parody. And there's like a desk and the judges in the chairs. And my friend worked at the studio and one of the chairs fell off the truck.
Wow.
Yeah.
And weirdly, those first 3 years are our weakest years.
Yes. A little pitchy.
So little trivia about Lainey Boggs. She's named after 2 Winona Ryder characters. I thought this was interesting. Kim Boggs from Edward Scissorhands and Lainey Pierce in Reality Bites.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
It's funny too that Edward Scissorhands, I know it's not a recent movie, but I think it is not as old in my mind as it actually is.
Yeah, I kind of have that
sense.
same. No, absolutely. I kind of think of that movie the same way. Like it's like, what? That's 34 years old, really?
Yeah, it's great. So I mean, just to think that like someone was already thinking about the name of the character in that film and naming someone after her at this point.
That is such a. I mean, you can totally see the screenwriting inclination that leads you to that, because I'm sure you've been in that position as a writer where you do that. Like,
names,
take this
100%.
Right?
Oh yeah.
That guy standing behind her who had the buttoned up shirt.
Yes,
I was sort of fascinated by him. I was like, what's he doing?
Well, it looked like he was about to come up and say something.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if he had a moment cut, and I felt kind of bad for him.
So this is Clea Duvall, who plays this not nice person.
Uh-huh.
And she's somebody else who, like, she was in The Faculty.
Yeah. What's that movie? But I'm a Cheerleader. Right?
Yes, that's right. Yep. And I remember her from like an episode of The Fugitive, the remake series.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She played a not nice person. But this scene is interesting because it shows that, like, not everybody changes, right? She's just a terrible person all the way around. But I like what they give Lainey to do, which is to mess her up.
I was just thinking right now, I wonder if in a movie in 2024, if they wouldn't have her do something vengeful. The hero.
They would not. Oh, interesting.
What she does isn't that bad, actually. Like she just gets like a little victory that doesn't hurt anybody really. But
it'd be funny if she like ripped off her face or something. You're like, oh my god.
She's wearing her face as she walks out of the party.
Yeah. It's like Hannibal Lecter style. Like, oh geez.
That was before the test screening.
Yeah, that was Shyamalan. One rewrite that went too far.
Yeah, they're like, the audience never recovered. They never liked Lainey after that moment.
after the face ripping off moment. Yeah. See, the Taylor character is just so unpleasant throughout.
Yeah.
And I get that she's like a caricature and stuff, but I'm kind of like, I don't understand how she and Zach could ever be together.
That's a good point. And I was thinking about this as I was watching the movie. I mean, it's really trying to say that there doesn't have to be any sense behind who the school looks up to. It's like these people just take these mantles and the school goes.
By the way, real quick, Brian, hold on. Watching Matthew Lillard do this dance, man, it's like watching Brian Hall at a party. Wasn't this you at your wedding?
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, continue. Sorry.
And everyone was like, this is
sorry, go ahead.
No, but it's sort of like the way that the movie portrays it. It's sort of like, well, Zach is our king. And for some reason, the what's her name, is our queen, right? Taylor. Mm-hmm. Taylor Vaughn.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, no, Lainey is our queen. And everyone's like, okay, Lainey is now our queen. It's like they just sort of, right? Like it's just sort of this weird sort of caste system that everyone just sort of accepts and doesn't choose. Like it just is sort of imposed to them.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it's like, well, I am the king and she's kind of the queen. And so we are together. That's the way it is.
Now again, imagine her walking out, but she has no face. Comedy gold, Brian. Comedy gold.
She turns around and you just see like two holes because there's no nose. Yeah. It's just like people just running away shrieking.
See, the like when I look at Freddie Prinze here, I mean, that's what I mean when I say it feels like he's in a different movie. Because he's just so earnest, the way he plays us all.
Maybe that's good though, right? Like he's sort of like this little anchor we can hang on to. I don't know.
No, I absolutely. I think that was the right choice. I don't know if there was another way to play that. Now this here, like this. Okay, now granted, I was never at a party like this, but it feels like such a stupid thing for. Like if Lainey's smart, she's just like, well, that was a waste of your drink, or it's not like it's her dress, you know what I mean? And she should just go back to the party.
Right. Sure. I mean, yeah, I think that's what I would do with like 43-year-old wisdom. But
sure.
You know what I mean? Like I'm guessing she's 17, 18, something like that. I don't know. I could see her being rattled. She's been pretty stoic up to this point, but this is like a little bit of a tipping point. And she is like in an environment that she's completely out of place in and probably just like walking this tightrope of keeping it together.
I guess, but she will cut a bitch. We know that.
Wait, what?
I said she will cut a bitch. We know that,
Yeah.
or at least draw all over her face.
See, in that original version, if we'd seen her like hands slowly like open a switchblade, we'd been like, "Run, Taylor, run!" That's a whole other film.
I mean, you went to parties in high school, right?
A few, like not like a ton
Yeah.
like this.
Nothing like this weird Caligula-esque orgy situation, whatever's happening.
No,
It's a lot.
Yeah. I had to say the password at the, like Eyes Wide Shut, go up to the gate.
It's like some eyes wide shut shit going on.
Yeah. I don't remember what the word go or whatever. The gate opened. All these 18-year-olds in robes and pagan masks.
Weird masks, yeah.
Now,
Now, after this movie was a hit, Freddie Prinze, there was a minute there where he was in a whole bunch of stuff.
yes. It's so funny you say that, and I know that's true, and I can't think of it right now.
I'm with you, 'cause other than the ones I referenced, about half an hour ago. It's hard for me to remember what's. I mean, he was in the Scooby-Doo movies,
Which I've actually never seen.
I've never seen them either, but I'll tell you one thing I have realized, having taught many a student who grew up in the wake of those films, is that they are beloved
Yes.
by that demographic. Like if Freddie Prinze and company were to come back and do like a legacy sequel to Scooby-Doo, I'm convinced it would be a big hit. And I say this as somebody who has never seen those movies.
Right. No, and I know Federica loves them. Like we were at the Peterson Auto Museum, and they had the van there, and I was like, oh, cool. And I just kept moving, and she's like, wait, no, the van,
Boys and Girls. That was another one that he was in.
What is that?
Man, there were a lot of Boys and Girls. That has Claire Forlani and Jason Biggs and Amanda Detmer. So if that's not a Jeopardy question where the answer is what is the year 2000, I don't know what is, but yeah. Haven't seen that one either. There were a lot of these like teeny bopper movies.
Oh, Down to You. I remember that.
Yeah,
title.
Down to You. That's the that's with the Julia Stiles was in that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm just going through IMDb right now. Oh yeah, he was on 24. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was Jack's partner, right?
Wow. Yeah. Man, if I had more time, that's a series I'd like to revisit.
24.
Yeah, just see if it holds up.
I'd be curious too, because I kind of dipped out after a while.
I mean, the first 3 seasons at least were like so, like there just hadn't been anything like that before, and it was so like gripping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by the way,
yeah. Yes. Go ahead.
I was gonna say
that's it.
Little trivia here. Did you know that this film was the last movie to be reviewed by Gene Siskel?
I did know that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and he gave it a positive review.
What did Ebert give it though?
Ebert gave it 2.5 stars, if I remember correctly,
Okay.
and said, "Not great, but there are some things to enjoy." Something like that.
So
Which actually would
wrote
probably be my review of it too.
I think that's pretty apt, as tended to be the case. Roger Ebert was on point. I wrote a review of this for the College of DuPage newspaper.
Oh, did you really?
And it had, I did, and it had the headline, "All that, not much." I was very, very proud of that headline, I have to say.
That's pretty good. It's funny. I was trying to write down my impressions when it was over, just so I wouldn't forget, and I wrote down simultaneously better and worse than I remembered.
I think that's pretty accurate. It's this. Okay, so by the way, coming up here, we have like the break between Zach and Dean.
Yeah.
Which, as soon as this sequence ends, I'm just like, wow, that escalated really fast.
Yeah.
Because they start out like best pals at the start of the movie, and it takes like one conversation that goes downhill for it to get really ugly quickly.
Well, it's a 90-minute movie.
That's right. Somebody needs to call up Dean, be like, "Hello, Dean, you're a stupid head." That'll solve the problem.
Basically,
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at, he just goes right to attacking him.
Well, he disrespected Lainey.
I mean, you know what? He shouldn't, obviously.
Zach actually, he really cares about her because he's a good guy.
He you can see it in his eyes. He's very sensitive.
Yeah, he won't stand for any Lainey disrespect.
But right, like Dean goes right to "You're going down, asshole." Like
that's a funny line. It's like, what?
it's like a leap,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love here. He's like, "Gay students over there, prisoners club over there."
Right. We don't see it yet, I don't think. But Taylor Vaughn's like "vote for me" poster or whatever is so funny. Like her with a scowl on her face with her arms crossed.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that.
That made me laugh out loud.
So you were nominated for Prom King, right?
Oh, of course. No.
Was there? I mean, I'm sure there was Prom King, Prom Queen, and stuff during my high school. I don't remember like vigorous campaigning though.
No, maybe that's true, but to me that feels like such a TV sort of thing.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I don't even remember who they were. Yeah. I don't know. It's like everybody's just kind of doing their own thing,
What's funny about this school is that apparently there is no faculty or administration.
That's right.
Other than at the prom. These are students who just go to the school and just walk around and hang out and then come home.
Actually, it's funny. You have her art teacher, which she like kind of comes out of nowhere just to be like, "Hey, that thing you're working on, it's amazing." It's like that character in Back to the Future. It's like, "I heard you laid out Biff. You should run for class president. Bye." Like just so she can like move the plot along really quickly. Yeah, it's sort of like Charlie Brown, right? Where there's like really no adults in that world, except when they're in, like when they're at home, there's no parents or anything, but except when they're in school and all the teachers sound like a horror.
It's just a high school full of 24-year-old seniors.
Yes.
And 15-year-old freshmen, I guess. That's it.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Like the Kieran Culkins. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really funny.
I remember at corresponding with when Freddie Prinze Jr. became really big, like there was this corresponding nerd hate of Freddie Prinze.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna audition for Star Wars to play Anakin Skywalker. No way, that sucks, or he was auditioning to play Spider-Man. No way, that sucks, And you realize, oh, this has always been a thing where like nerds always hate like the guy that girls are into, Oh,
I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah,
that's just what it is, right? But the funny thing is, he's like a total nerd.
Right. Yeah, and now he's like a huge figure in Star Wars, right? I mean,
in Star Wars, yeah, because he was the voice of Kanan Jarrus, who's like a beloved character. But actually, if you ever hear him talk about Star Wars, because he sort of learned at the feet of Dave Filoni, who was like George Lucas's, mentee. He speaks about it in very eloquent terms, and it's really like he seems like just like a really chill, down to earth guy, which is pretty refreshing.
Yeah. No, I lately, because of his Star Wars work, I've seen interviews and things. Yeah, he just seems like a nice, cool guy. Chill, Tony Robbins.
That's a screenwriter.
Yes,
writing dialogue. The kids wouldn't say that. I don't think even back then they would have said that.
Right.
Although it's this is back around the era when you and I would do our little film projects and stuff.
Oh, and we'd want to show how smart we were.
Yeah, exactly, right?
In our dialogue. Yeah, like name checking things we think will make people think we're impressive. Yeah.
But you realize how much of that was because of Kevin Williamson, Scream / Dawson's Creek / I guess this type of thing,
Totally. But you know, it's funny because this is in the wake of all of that, but this movie does not feel, you know, like buried in self-referential meta dialogue, right? Like something
Not
like
as much,
Dawson's
that's for sure.
Creek or Scream or
Yes.
anything like that.
That's for sure. But like this same year, 1999, remember we shot that horror film?
Yes.
That was this year, right?
Wow. Was that really?
It was fall of 99.
Yeah. It's called Something Freaky.
Something freaky, and boy, that is just packed to the gills with dialogue that it thinks it's smarter than it is.
It was totally of that era, right? It was like a very like referencing things and referencing itself, and like a Too Clever by Half kind of thing.
I got to have a pretty cool death scene. I got choked to death in a toilet.
That's true. That's true. And I was the killer.
Oh, that's right. You were the killer.
Yeah. Everybody trusted
good
me, and then
times.
at the end,
It's a metaphor for life.
man, those were the days when we made that. We basically just told that school, "Hey, we're going to stay here while you're closed overnight and run around with guns in our hands and shoot a movie." Okay.
Yeah, guns and knives, and
we got to do whatever we wanted.
Now this scene is like borderline offensive to me, where it's like the only role of black guys is to do a rap.
Yeah, like what do you call that in a play? Like the chorus or
the chorus, exactly.
Yeah, basically catching us up on the plot.
I love how Paul Walker's just smoking up there. By the way, again, this is high school.
I was smoking, and then he puts it out in that kid's drink, and I was like, "What a dick."
Oh, Dean.
Yeah. I remember the Taylor Vaughn character is smoking later too, and I was like, "Hey, you just don't see that."
Yeah, she shows up to the party with the beer or with the cigarette. I mean,
yeah. Oh, you know what? Speaking of that sort of thing, earlier I thought it was kind of weird when Kieran Culkin offered.
Me too.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, do you want a drink?" To his like 18-year-old, and he just goes straight for like the liquor, which I thought was weird enough. But then he's like making what he thinks is a margarita, and he's just putting all this stuff into a glass, and like, the dad's right there. I just thought it's weird. It was a
weird, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. I was like, is that a common happenstance to see that?
Yeah.
So with the Eldon Henson character, I was thinking he was gay.
Zachy, you 100. I was just going to bring this up. I was trying to figure this character out. I mean, he really only exists so Lainey has someone to talk to, so we know what she's thinking. But you do need to kind of explain why this boy wouldn't have a crush on her. And the movie doesn't really do that, right? Like they give this really weak line earlier where he's like, "Look, I've known you my whole life. I mean, ew, right?" You know, but it's like,
oh, by the way, look at that, Sarah Michelle Gellar right there. So little story there. You know, the reason she's in this movie is that the high school, that's the Sunnydale High School set for Buffy.
Right.
So both shows were shooting at the same time. And Freddie Prinze and Sarah Michelle Gellar were dating at the time. So, and she was friendly with the director too. So it's like, yeah, I'll just pop in. Just kind of,
I love that.
cool.
And it's like she doesn't even have a line. And you can imagine now it's like, is that Sarah Michelle Gellar? But you can imagine audiences back then being like, it's our Scream Queen, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
So, but Brian, be honest. How many times did you secretly put your pubes on somebody else's food?
Well, I think the real question is how many times a week.
Jeez. This is so weird. Where he's like, look at this porn.
Yeah, you know,
he's like, no.
It feels like weirdly like abusive what he's doing to this kid. Like basically making him look at like elder porn, like shoving it in his face, like giving him no choice to look away, like kind of shoving his head in it. And then actually, I felt like this scene felt a little out of place in this movie. Like this, not scatological, but like this is like a little like gross by a few more degrees than this movie really operates in.
Well, as soon as you have a scene where somebody's eating pizza topped with pubes, I feel like you've crossed a Rubicon of some kind.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't kind of feel in line with what we've been watching so far.
The funny thing is that this guy, Pew Boy over there, he's also in Can't Hardly Wait. I think playing basically the same character.
Yeah, I remember him. He was in a lot of those teen
Yeah.
movies.
So he kind of had a niche there. He's also in October Sky, but he's not quite a douchebag. You know what I thought would be funny is if Zach just goes to a very dark place where he's like, you slit his wrist.
Dude, you were watching another movie in your mind, man.
He's like, you look at him while you stab him in the chest, and they have to do, they're like crying, both of them die. And then he kind of looks over at Lainey like, eh?
Right. And she just grabs her brother and like they hurry out the door. Yeah.
I mean, this is the equivalent of look at them. They're the people that laugh at everybody. Wave at the people.
Totally. I love his shirt too, like the jerk. He's wearing kill all artists.
Kill all artists. See, but the funny thing to me is, I mean, I'm not taking the bully side, but I'm like, wouldn't they just be like, well, I'm not doing that, obviously.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like what? But then again, it goes into this weird hierarchy that the school believes in, right? Where it's like, well, he's the king.
Yeah.
He's. I mean, I get this scene.
Yeah, there's that poster you were talking about.
Yeah, that poster's really funny.
See, he glances over at Lainey like, well, I did my good deed for the day. And I'm just imagining 2 blood-soaked corpses on the ground.
Yeah. That's really funny. But yeah, he did something nice for her brother. Maybe he's for real.
He made him eat some Pew pizza, Brian.
They hoovered it. They hoovered
that ought to learn him.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you get guy. So this is all just from that argument, right? Where it's like, you're going down. Well, I'll go to prom with her. But to what end? I guess is that the bet outcome would be reversed. You know what I mean? Or like he would. You know what I'm saying? Like what's his angle here? Like if he's gonna lose, let him lose. Like what's the point of him getting to go with Lainey?
I don't know that he thought it out very much.
I mean, this makes sense in a story. Like this feels like some sort of twist, and like, oh no, now he's gonna go after her and act a certain way.
So,
but it's
no,
like,
so here's my thought. So he knows that Zach has feelings for Lainey.
Right.
But he also knows that he's got the bet thing that he's holding over his head.
Right.
So what he's trying to do is get into her good graces, and then he'll drop the bet bomb on her.
So he looks good.
Exactly.
And Zach looks bad.
See, he's brilliant. He's brilliant, Brian.
You're right.
He is kind of a grade A dirtbag in this movie, though. So, I mean, kudos to him as an actor because, you really do kind of hate his guts.
He is really good at doing what he's doing in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's Zach's "I don't want your life" scene.
I was gonna say because it's they also kind of have a similar scene in Varsity Blues, right? Like It's like the bedroom looks exactly the same, and
I just assume this was like white boy bedrooms. I just assumed that's
high school '90s bedroom. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Varsity Blues, by the way, I like that movie. I think it's a good. I haven't seen it in probably 20 years, but I remember thinking it was one of the better these types of movies.
Man, I probably haven't seen it since it came out. That was like a 2000s one, right? Like maybe like a year or two later.
Yeah, maybe before this.
Man, I don't even remember.
Because I feel like it must have been before this because Dawson's Creek started like early 98. No, you know what? So maybe it wasn't. It must have been 2000, I'm thinking. Varsity Blues.
Yeah, something like that.
Let's it was 99. It was 99 actually. So Brian, you're not going to believe this. It was the week before this.
What?
January 15th. So 2 weeks before this.
Okay. Wow.
I stand corrected. It was literally 2 weeks before this because this was January 29th.
Wow. Okay.
So exactly 2 weeks apart.
Man, man, I kind of want to, now that I'm in the mood with this one, I kind of want to go back and visit some of these, revisit. Usher. Do you think he was actually a part of the principal photography of this movie? Or
I absolutely do not.
Yeah, like he was a hot artist at the time, and Harvey Weinstein, producing those, or the Weinstein brothers, basically like get the hottest kid on the radio and shove him in this movie somehow. And so you get these random like little moments of him in some sort of radio broadcast booth at the high school, just commenting on the movie, and he's at the prom too, like sort of calling out that dance, but it doesn't seem like he's actually interacting with anyone. Like he's just he's getting these medium close-up shots.
I had that exact thought.
He must have been added pretty late.
Well, so this is what Robert Iscove, the director, Robert, right? Is that his name?
Iscove, yeah, right.
He said, with regards to that, he had to fight to keep the now iconic prom scene in the movie, explaining to Cosmo he really wanted a big dance number despite the studio's reservations. The solution: more scenes with Usher. That's why we went back and shot more Usher stuff of him saying, "Remember what I taught you in dance class," or whatever. We went back and shot more scenes with Usher in Chicago, which is where he was doing an album, and intercut more. So you're on point.
Interesting. Because he's never featured interacting with any of the characters.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. How funny. It's funny thinking about Varsity Blues and like I said, all these teen movies, Clueless. I mean, they were so big. I mean, this movie, I was looking up the box office and it made 63 million domestic, and which is inflation, over 100 million.
Yeah.
And like worldwide, almost with inflation, 200 million.
And they probably spent less than 10 million on it.
Yeah, I think the budget was $10 million. Yeah.
There you go.
And it's funny because this is the type of movie now that would just pop up on Netflix and people would talk about it for a week and then forget it exists.
I had that exact thought as I was watching, because this was a zeitgeist. Oh, by the way, that line, "Am I a effing bet?" That's a Shyamalan line.
Shyamalan. Yeah, it's good.
Good. And it's a pretty good line, but more interesting. I mean, look at the way Freddie Prinze plays it, man. I mean,
he's wounded.
He's going for it.
Yep.
I was watching him in this scene. I was like, man, respect.
Yep.
He's going for it. Look at Paul Walker.
He's such like a good little shit. You know what I mean? Like that's what he's playing in this movie. He's a little shit. He's got that like shit-eating grin. Yeah. Pretty blonde face.
Yep.
Yep. Wait, sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, no, it like this was a zeitgeisty movie that
Totally.
that commanded the cultural conversation for a decent amount of time after it came out. And to your point, that's the problem with these streaming movies is they're there for a minute and then they're gone,
Yeah. Yeah. So and that's the other thing too. I was saying earlier, oh wait, real quick. There's that book, The Cider House Rules. I was like, that's random. And it turns out that Kieran Culkin was in The Cider House Rules.
Yes, that's
this
right.
year. So it might've been like a little fun thing for him.
Oh, I wonder. Yeah, that would make sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this, whether or not people remember the details of this movie, like the key moments, right? Like the coming down the stairs to kiss me and the removing the glasses. And I mean, that stuff it's still sort of referenced when we talk about teen movies, right?
Yeah.
So like it really did, I don't know if it created, but it definitely like made iconic certain tropes that I think still get thought about to this day. And you just think, right. These movies now, they're just kind of coming and going. I don't even know if they have moments that are as strong or as memorable, but like you said, they don't even have the opportunity to become that because it's so fleeting. They're like a drop in the ocean.
I think about that often where I'm like, is it that there aren't any similar zeitgeisty movies, or is it that you and I, we're in our 40s, so we're not even seeking this stuff out, right? Like you know what I mean? Like what is it?
I definitely think our age has a lot to do with it, but I also feel like every now and then I'll see stuff that seems to be tracking on TikTok that everyone's like zeroing in on. But like, I do really feel like culture doesn't allow things to breathe enough to even have a moment to make its mark. Oftentimes, not always.
I think that's very no. I think, and streaming. I'm broken record at this point. I think streaming has done a lot of damage in this regard because it's made disposable
double-edged.
culture. Yeah, I mean, it's made it even more disposable than it already was.
Yeah, I mean, it's allowed the opportunity to have a lot more things and a lot more niche things available, which is cool because people can find the thing that is more them, the thing that they really love. But it also makes it like, well, then you don't have as big an audience, and so then they don't think it's worth the money to keep that show going, or the movie doesn't track, so they don't, like it doesn't live on. So it's totally double-edged.
This scene here with Kevin Pollak, and it felt very random to me, like he comes on to give this life advice because he's been sort of a non-character throughout. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it reminds me, I don't know if you remember, in Spider-Man 3, when the butler is suddenly like just venting his spleen to James Franco.
That's right, yeah.
Where it's like, where have you been all this time? It felt like that. Like it feels like, well, we need to give Kevin like one like heartfelt scene,
See, that's what I was trying to say earlier. I don't know if I was saying it well enough, but like it's interesting that the dad has an arc in 10 Things I Hate About You. And and I'm not saying that this movie needs that, but I kind of wish he did feel a little more in tune with his daughter. Like he can be busy and distracted by work, but wish he wasn't or something. And so then that speech might have landed a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's, spoiler at the end when we reveal that Freddie Prinze Jr. is there waiting for her after the prom. And he's just kind of awkwardly standing quiet in a corner while the dad is hanging out.
I was thinking about that. Yeah, I was thinking about it. It's very funny to me because, and I think that comes down to staging, to be honest.
The staging was kind of weird, but like, I almost kind of wish he and the dad had a conversation or something, or it feels like there was an opportunity for something there.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
And maybe there was, and it was cut because people are like, who cares about the dad?
That's possible.
That's not why the kids are here.
I do love, how he calls her pumpkin nose, which is weird. By the way, it's a weird thing to say, but like he could just say pumpkin, but in not another teen movie, he calls her pumpkin head and pumpkin tits.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that.
Randy Quaid.
I should maybe tonight I'll watch that again just because this movie is so fresh in my head. I'll appreciate it.
Carlos Jacot playing the photographer. He's another hey that guy.
But who is that?
He's been in like Seinfeld and I mean you name it. He had a bit of a career. Blow up doll. That freaking guy, man. I wonder whatever happened to that actor because he was in a bunch of stuff. Chris Owen is his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey man, you know what? He's still acting as of a couple of years ago in random stuff. In random stuff, I grant, but he has grown up to be an entirely normal looking adult. So
good for him.
There's hope for me yet. By the way, fun fact: Chris Owen, born September 25th, 1980. So he's exactly 1 year younger than me.
Oh wow! Huh.
There you go. So we're part of a club.
I love this here. You can hear it in the background now. Now we're going to do that dance I taught you. From Usher.
The cutaway of Usher.
Yes.
Hundreds of miles away.
It's so true. Actually, yeah, he has a different background behind him. Now I'm paying attention to it.
Now that you know, you can't like not see it.
Yeah. It does like invite you to try to imagine then like a month earlier, all these kids showing up in a gym and Usher being like, and 5, 6, 7, 8, learning this dance.
Right.
I gotta say though, as completely nuts as this moment is, it is like really well done. Like I thought it was shot well. It has a lot of energy, and I mean, Fatboy Slim. Come on.
Well, this whole sequence was choreographed by Adam Shankman, who is a director in his own right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he directed A Walk to Remember and Hairspray. He did Hairspray, the remake of Hairspray.
Oh, that makes sense then.
Yep.
A musical. But but just hearing this song, like I found myself getting like pumped up. I was like, yeah, I remember this.
It's funny actually. We kind of talked through it, but the scene where Paul Walker comes to Lainey's house to get her to come, with Rachael Leigh Cook talked about how he's such a good actor that he plays it really sincerely, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And how when they filmed that scene after they called cut, the cameraman was like under his breath, I'd go with him. Like,
That's funny.
you know?
That's
So
funny.
I didn't go to my prom, but were there, did you go to your prom? I'm assuming you did.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of work. I mean, a month before we had to learn a dance, and
Yeah, I was about to say, was it like a choreographed dance number? You know, was Usher DJing your prom, Brian? In
well, no,
Wheaton?
it wasn't that cool. Although I will say, thinking about it now, whenever you watch a prom, or for me, I've felt, TV, movies, whatever, it's always been like there's a band, a live
Mhm.
band.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, what would that be like? Because my prom was, just like, someone's spinning records or something. And so seeing this, I was like, no, it was more like this, instead of like having some sort of ska band or like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones up there, like.
Yeah, so this kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's like probably this inclination to just get every character in this movie, first, second tier, whatever, to have some sort of connection or happy ending. And it's like, well, I've got two characters left. How about they bump into each other and fall in love? Yeah. But do you remember that Fatboy Slim record? I mean, that was huge,
dude. I was telling Amina when we were watching this, I was like, man, I'm going through a time warp just hearing that song.
I mean, yeah, that whole album is awesome. I highly recommend it still, I think. But that song was inescapable in this moment.
Yeah, I remember because this was around the time that I met Paul Shirey, and he used to play it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's like ingrained in my ear canal just because of him.
Right about now,
yep,
soul brother. Yeah.
So there's the teacher. She just kind of drifts in, be like, "Yeah, you just got into art school," or whatever she says, and then,
"Congrats, I gotta go," and then she walks away.
It's like that. Remember that SNL filmed bit where it's like the race and Saoirse Ronan? It's like in The Office.
I'm not sure.
It's like it's Kyle Mooney and Beck Bennett. They both run like in an office, and it's like, oh, who's faster? And Saoirse Ronan's
vaguely.
like, Saoirse Ronan plays like a coworker of Kyle Mooney. She's like, I'll train you, and then they do this race, and then he wins. It's like an inside the office, like they have to run down a hallway,
Yeah,
and then he turns and looks at Saoirse Ronan. She kind of waves, and then she disappears. It's like she was a ghost the whole time.
That's hilarious.
This too, I love how he just goes into the bathroom and just drops all the necessary exposition.
That's right.
It's so funny.
I was half paying attention because I was looking at something else, but like, was he talking to people he even knows, or was he just bragging to random guys in the?
I think they were just random folks.
Yeah, and he's just like, this is a key to a hotel room where I'm gonna do the deed with Laney Boggs.
Which room, you ask? Why, it's 409.
That's right. And then her friend just happens to be in a stall. It'd be kind of funny. They should have like set it all up where he has like food poisoning, and they're like, I don't know if you should be eating that shrimp, and he's like, slag off. And then you cut to him in there later with like a sweaty forehead, and you're like, oh, because of the shrimp, and that's why he's in the bathroom and he gets to overhear Paul Walker say that.
That's good. I like. Look at that. Boom. That's hilarious. It's I always get bumped by weirdly specific exposition that doesn't fit the snenario.
Right.
In fact, like there's a part earlier in the film. It's when Zach walks into school, and all the people are saying hi to him, whatever. And there's one girl. She's like, he knows my name, and her friend is like, but he called you Connie.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, but your name is Melissa or whatever. And I'm like,
right.
Why would you say that? Like, you would just say that's not your name, right? If it's a friend.
Yeah. Or sometimes I feel like people, it's like over explaining the joke. I'll feel that sometimes when I watch a show. I'm like, no, slice that last half off. Like, it was funny.
Exactly.
We got it. Like, we fill in the gap. We feel smart and we laugh,
Exactly.
Yeah. By the way, we didn't talk about Rachael Leigh Cook. She had that pretty famous anti-drug commercial.
Yeah, that's kind of what put her on the map, right?
Yeah, I looked it up after watching this, and yeah, I was surprised it was before this.
Yes.
Where basically, it's like the classic commercial is this is your brain on drugs, and you're putting like an egg in a frying pan, right? And then her thing was like, here's an egg, here's a frying pan, but then she's like, and this is what it does to your family, and this is what it does to your life, and then she's like smashing a kitchen with the pan.
Yeah,
that was her ad,
and that did the trick.
Yeah, it did.
The drug crisis ended with that commercial. So
that's true. I've never tried peyote.
Job well done. Did you say peyote?
Yeah.
Now we haven't mentioned at all that there was like the remake, the gender swapped remake of this a couple of years ago.
That's right.
He's all that, and that too. It starred Tanner Buchanan from Cobra Kai as the hideous he.
Yeah, actually, I wish I had looked up a trailer for it so I could see what he looked like the before and after.
I haven't seen the trailer either, but knowing the after, I'm like, what would the before have to be here?
Right.
It's what comes to mind is that remember that movie with Paris Hilton? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I'm gonna embarrass myself because I actually know what it's called. The Hottie and the Naughty.
The Hottie and the Naughty. Right? Oh, that's kind of doing this, right? It's like something in this vein.
I'm going to think about it for a minute. The things that I don't remember from my life.
I mean,
and that came to me immediately.
Yeah, a little too quickly, right?
Dude.
But that movie is doing something similar to this, but I mean, that has such a absolute lack of subtlety that it really does make this look like the Magnificent Ambersons.
Yes, yeah.
So this right here, this is what you're talking about. So these two are sitting there having this conversation, and I'm like, so is Freddie Prinze just like sitting there?
Actually, that makes a lot more sense than what I originally had in my head. Like he's rising from a chair right now, because the way we see it is the camera just goes around this corner and he's just been standing there the whole time.
But here's the thing. What you do is you have it come in on Rachael Leigh Cook, and the camera goes over to Dad and Simon and like this and that, and that's what she's seeing. So it's like they hear her coming and they go into this routine. Right? As opposed to
yes. Not having the before she walks in the door moment.
Exactly. Right? That makes more sense. So she walks in and it's kind of her POV and they're doing this thing. And then he's like, oh, by the way, look there. And then the camera pans over,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad he apologized for calling him an asshole, because that was uncalled for.
You know what? Actually, I would rather see Zach apologize to him. Because he doesn't. The kid was right in that moment. you know, like he betrayed his sister.
Yeah, but he stopped him from eating pizza. I think that trumps that.
You might be right.
Yeah. Sorry. It is kind of. I was looking at Rachael Leigh Cook's filmography following this, and she didn't go on to do a ton of stuff.
Well, she's. It's funny. I did the same, and it feels like she didn't go on to do like big movies necessarily, but she's appearing in sort of like Hallmark things, and right? She's still working.
She's working. I see it like her last credit is 2021, and that's a TV credit.
Yeah.
It looks like a Hallmark movie. But I feel like, because she was in Texas Rangers after this. She was in that movie Antitrust with Ryan Phillippe was in that. But I feel like, honestly, if I were to guess, I would say probably Josie and the Pussycats, which underperformed. She kind of took the blame for that,
Interesting. And that's a movie that I know has garnered a cult following. And I've never seen it, and I keep thinking like, oh, maybe I'll check it out, because it seems like people like it's very witty.
Mm-hmm.
People, think it's very clever. I don't know. That's all I know about it. Is it? I remember it. Never saw it, but I know people today have sort of reevaluated it.
Yeah, but a lot of stuff gets reevaluated.
Sure. I
mean,
don't know.
and not picking on Josie and the Pussycats, but like there's this whole cult of Speed Racer, and I'm like, I don't know what movie all y'all watched because
The Wachowski one?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember that one very well. But no,
Yeah,
I'm
I
looking
just
at her like sorry, go ahead.
no, I just rewatched it recently, and I'm like, I don't know, not feeling it.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at her IMDb right now, and I'm seeing like 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like she's hung in there.
She's hung in
I'm
there.
surprised we
I
haven't
don't.
seen more of her.
I mean, I guess honestly, her and Freddie Prinze both kind of like in terms of like the overall cast, it feels like they've had the lower key careers. And I'm not dismissing the work they've done. I mean, but it's not. It never burned quite as white hot as this moment right here. You know?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I it's so sweet. I like the dad there, but again, I just wish we had gotten like one good scene between. Well, no, we do get one nice scene with them, but it maybe like something to set up what becomes the heart to heart at the end. You know? With her.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you that I think some kind of connection between Zach and Dad
Would have been nice.
To the best of my knowledge,
her so badly.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm straining to think of any scenes that they have together where it's just the two of them. I don't think there's anything.
Wait, has he ever really apologized for what he's done?
I don't.
She takes him back pretty readily, and we also kind of gloss over the fact that it sounds like she might have been kind of assaulted by Paul Walker.
Well, no, I think she blew that air horn before it got to that point.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not saying anything like super sinister happened, but I mean, there was an attempt at something sinister, and then she thwarted it.
But I would assume that she comes home very matter of factly. And
yeah,
so
like I don't think she ever went to the room. Like I think she clued into what his name was, and then used that air horn thing on him.
Unless she had that switchblade we were talking about, and she messed him up.
Your switchblade, your version of the movie.
Yeah. She's got the sociopath. Oh, there's that cigarette that you were talking about.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, so this here's my issue with. Well, not this. I mean, this is kind of funny that he can't hear because she blew his ear out.
Yeah,
That's pretty funny. So that isn't that Lil' Kim?
Yes.
That's so random.
Yeah.
No, so Zach is sitting there naked.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me what high school would ever let it get to this point. Right?
Yeah. I was wondering if the sex offender registry list had existed at this time.
Because, I mean, it's like they would have spotted that shit a mile away and been put on. Like, and I was thinking, I was like, if anything, he should have been sitting there with his robe on.
That's what should have happened. Yes. Then he takes it off.
Then like instead of him throwing her the ball, he throws her the robe.
Yeah, and he does like a little, the terms of the bet, and then he has to take it off, and we see her catch the rope. Exactly.
Because how could he possibly be sitting there? Everybody would have seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. Now here I am, like trying to like find logic in this.
No, but I was just thinking about there's like a whole bleacher, like football field bleachers filled with families and whatever, and like I don't know. There goes Yale.
Right? Seriously. Wow. Hey, we just talked through this whole movie, man.
This was a fun blast from the past. I gotta say, I really did expect. Yeah, like I enjoyed this conversation. I expected actually to go in and like kind of love the movie. And I can't say I loved it. I didn't. I was a little surprised. I thought I was going to like it more. But it definitely has its own sort of wacky 99 charm. And it was fun to go back and revisit some moments that I, sort of vaguely remembered in my head and to see them within the context of the whole movie and just, I don't know, step into the time machine a little bit.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I would say I feel about this film exactly what I did, the a year ago or 20 years ago, which is it's fine.
Yeah.
I think for me the enjoyment is it is just a absolute blast of nostalgia. But more interesting for me was just sort of you and I getting to reminisce about that time of our lives.
I know. Pre-cell phone. I mean, well, cell phones existed, but I didn't have one at this point.
Nope.
Actually,
Me
we
either.
we kind of missed it, but there's a scene where all the girls are checking their pagers, and I was
Wow,
like, "Oh yeah,
okay.
pagers." I remember, in the
Definitely
whole
had a pager.
well, teachers remember at school they wouldn't let you have pagers because that meant you were a drug dealer.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely had a pager. I definitely remember getting paged and having to stop at a gas station and find a payphone and that whole thing.
wow, amazing.
Yeah, which really like what did I need to be reached for?
I don't know.
Nothing. So I was paying whatever it was, however many dollars a month for I mean it was just throwing money down the drain basically.
Yeah, but we didn't know. We didn't know in 1999.
That's true. But yeah, I well thank you, Brian, for watching this with me. I knew we'd have a great conversation, and so I was quite happy to to me. I kind of like that this one was a little bit outside of our wheelhouse.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I hope we continue to find movies like that. That
I was about
maybe
to say
of
I
the
think
moments from these years.
exactly. I was like, to me, it just means that we're able to expand our wheelhouse to encompass all kinds of stuff. So what that means is, what will our next commentary track be? You just don't know. But thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been our commentary track for She's All That. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can email us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page at facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast and message us there. On behalf of my partner, Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will catch you next time.